Boa tarde, assalamu alaikum, tēnā koutou. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brent. I live here in Timor-Leste in Southeast Asia, and I've been here for a year, just over a year, and I thought it was an apt time to reflect on my experiences and observations, explorations here, living as a Kiwi, as a New Zealander in Timor-Leste. I'm going to skip over things like, what's the food like, what's the weather like, what's the, what is the geography of the place. I'm going to skip over that because I think those things are relatively easy to find out in a whole different array of places. I'm going to just cut to the nitty-gritty of what I think is important and significant in my own experience. This video is kind of like, I'm sharing it in the chance that people might find it interesting, informative, or they can relate or disagree with it, agree with it. But primarily it's for my own sort of, expression and my own journal-like, video journal, vlog you might call. Anyway, here I am in Timor-Leste after a year. Things I really enjoy about it, I enjoy the culture of the people. The people here have a very deep and adhered to traditions. They have a lot of traditions and values that they really adhere to, and I admire that. I really do. Being a Māori person from New Zealand, I can relate to certain aspects of colonization and the effects of colonization from a New Zealand perspective. And the Timorese people were colonized by Portugal for the best part of 500 years, and they have certain things that they've been influenced heavily by over that long period of time. But their old traditions and values, beliefs are fused with their Portuguese influenced ones. The key one being Catholicism. Most people here are Catholic, and they've fused their Timorese and Catholic/Portuguese traditions together really well. I really admire that they hold on to them. I mean, whatever they may be, I like that in this modern day, in 2022, they still have a lot of these old traditions. It's really good. It's a linguistically rich country. Tetun and Portuguese are the official languages. Bahasa Indonesia is widely spoken. English to a certain extent, but not. I wouldn't say most Timorese people can speak English, but it's there are some can. And then in the districts here, there are local languages. So I don't know the exact number, forgive me, but I think between 15 to 20 local languages here in Timor. Now, don't forget, or maybe you don't even know, Timor-Leste is called East Timor as well, and it's the eastern half, roughly, of Timor Island, which is, geographically just north from Darwin or Northern Territory in Australia. And the western half of it is part of Indonesia, and the eastern part of it, where I am, is an independent country. So there's a land border, and literally, where you need a passport and a visa, etc., to go through. So it's a small place. It's only 1.3 million people in total. About 300,000 here in Dili, the capital city. So that's not a big city by international standards at all. And there's over a dozen local languages, as well as Tetun, which is the native national official language, and then Portuguese, which is spoken by roughly 5% of the people. It's not widely spoken on the street every day. So I really enjoy the linguistic aspect, being a language learner and lover myself. It's really cool. I also, there are similarities between Timorese culture and language and Māori as well, which is something I discovered when I come here. Some of our vocab is similar or the same. And even our customs and just vibe, you can, as a Māori person from New Zealand, it's I find it relatively easy to vibe with Timorese people on different levels. So I really enjoy that and continue to enjoy that. So I love the place in a nutshell. However, it's not an easy place to be. Anyone who's lived in a developing country, or a third world country, as they can say at times. Those two things, by the way, are not the same. I mean, I think it's kind of third world is you're really, really struggling. Developing is sort of like getting out of that, and then developed is considered modern. Timor-Leste is sort of, in the developing stage. It's only had independence for 20 years and, struggling with a lot of things: infrastructure, economics, employment, education, being on the international, being part of the international community for a small country with struggling economics, and that is not easy. So there's a lot of shortfalls here in infrastructure. The roads are shocking, the internet is shocking, the electricity supply is inconsistent. Educational outcomes are poor to average. That's kind of the poor to average is probably being generous. Unemployment is, I think, 21% was the last statistic I saw. 21% of people who could be working are not working, and then there's another 20% that are just sort of surviving. So it's not an easy place to be, and of course that's not my personal experience. I'm an expat. I'm a foreigner living here with a relatively good job, good accommodations and a good salary. So I'm very, very blessed in my position here. What else? I mean, yeah, it's a beautiful place to travel in, although hard because the roads make it really, really tough. Like I'm talking about, people in New Zealand back home, you don't understand what the difference a good road makes. You don't know until you experience bad roads, and even the word bad is just not it. I'm talking atrocious, torturous, like, to go 30 k's, spend 2 hours climbing in and out of holes. I mean, that going 25 k's per hour at best. Needing a 4-wheel drive to leave the city, like needing, not just enjoying to have one if you're lucky, but needing one to go out into the districts. That's just part and parcel of Timorese life. But anyway, I'm not going to talk on and on about roads. Roads are bad, and it is what it is. It makes a big difference, though. And now, being an expat, I've thrown this word out there, and of course, people who are expats know exactly what I'm talking about, and people who have travelled know what that is. But for those who don't know, an expat is kind of the term given to a Westerner generally living in a developing country, or in a country with a foreign culture. So if you're a Westerner like myself, a New Zealander living here in Timor, are part of what's called the expat community. Generally, though, it's not. I don't think you'd call Kiwis living in Australia expats or Australians living in America expats, because the culture of that foreign country is much the same. The language is the same, English. But when you're living in a very different place, you tend to be called an expat, and that comes with a raft of advantages and disadvantages and just daily realities. So about being an expat, I mean, I'm a foreigner, I'm an expat. In Tetun, in Timor, we're called a Malay. Malay means outsider or foreigner. And it's still, this is my view, my opinion, my perspective. I'm the outsider, this is their country, I'm a guest here, I'm grateful to be here. It's my duty to learn it's my duty to adapt as much as I can, genuinely and successfully adapt to the place I'm in. That's not always easy, but I still see it, and it's frustrating at times. It's tiring even. It can be downright hard, but it's still my duty to try my best. So I'm learning Tetun and using Tetun as much as I can. It's a work in progress. I'm using Indonesian when I need to as a sort of a backup language, because people here speak Indonesian, but I'm trying my best to speak Tetun. And like I've experienced in other countries, if you make a genuinely decent effort to speak a person's language, they appreciate it untold. Like, doors open, arms open, you're invited to people's houses, they want you to come for dinner, they genuinely want to be your friend, and I'm not just saying because of language only, but it's a huge big thing, and that's my view, and there are many others share the same view, but it's not a given. There are a lot of expats live not only here in Dili but around the world, I'm sure, who live in what I would call an expat bubble. They gravitate to other expats, they socialize, work with, and live their daily lives in and around and with other expats. And I understand that it's a human nature to gravitate towards people who are similar, so that you can, don't have language barriers, you don't have cultural barriers, you can go to the same places and chat together and laugh together about the same things, and as much as I understand that approach or that default setting, I'm wary of it, because it's a missed opportunity in my opinion. It's I'm here in Timor, and this is an opportunity for me to really learn about Timor, and that's about Timorese people and culture as part and parcel. Of course, I'm collegial and friendly, and I hang out with my other expat friends too, and that's awesome. But I don't want it to be my norm, where I just sort of like look back and 3 months has gone by and I've just been hanging out with my other English-speaking foreign friends. It's like, no, I need to, develop. And it's a blessing that I've been able to make Timorese friends and develop friendships with them and visit their families in the districts and listen to grandmothers telling their life stories in their local language, which of course I don't understand, but my friend's there to help translate, and just, lovely experiences, like experiences you can't buy. You can't book in to go to some sort of cultural show and get that. It's real. It's like, it's reality, and it's awesome. I really love that, and invite the opportunity to have more and more of them. So it's been a really good experience. Ultimately, everything is good, because even because I don't want to sugarcoat this. Sometimes it's really hard being a foreigner in a developing country with a different culture. I'll be honest. As much as I love it, I'm waxing lyrical about how beautiful it all is, and it is. But that doesn't make it easy. There are days when you are super frustrated or tired. Like even going to do the shopping down the road, or go to the store and buy a Coke, can be challenging, and sometimes the language or getting things done, problem solving. And when you're having a problem, if it's like you're traveling and you have a flat tire, or your hotel is fully booked and they didn't record your booking, and you're in the middle of nowhere, and you've got to deal with all of these normal things that you'd have to deal with anywhere in the world, but you're dealing with these things in a different culture, with a different language, with different norms and expectations of behavior as well. That's a whole nother thing. And there are days when you just aren't up for it, and you just want to hide away and sort of just chill, and hang out with like-minded people, so that you don't have to deal with the challenge. But ultimately, all of those things that can go wrong and do go wrong are mixed with the pleasures and the rewarding learning and experience and comfort zone extension that comes with living in a foreign country. So it's all good, so long as nothing extremely bad happens, and you're safe and you look after yourself. And of course, you need to be alert to these things. I mean, not paranoid, because I think it's kind of it's a bit of a trap as well. Like a lot of people who are either expats or just traveling, even, they're so paranoid about something going wrong, or being robbed, or being something going wrong. They're so hypersensitive to that I actually believe that they invite that energy. Like if you, for example, if you're too worried about getting pickpocketed or robbed or kidnapped or whatever, you're kind of too alert, and you're suspicious, and you're putting off this kind of tense energy, and that actually kind of attracts the sharks, if you know what I mean. That energy makes you vulnerable. Whereas in my view, it's far better, and that's for me living here, which is where I live, or someone just traveling, is be alert, be aware, keep your alertness, but relax, and also expect good to happen, because the reality is mostly good things happen. So if you expect those and enjoy them and eagerly await them and embrace them, while keeping your senses and being kind of smart. I mean, don't do stupid things that make you vulnerable or put you at risk. I think that's better, because you enjoy it more, and you put off a good energy, which invites good energy. Even engaging with people wherever I go here, it's like wherever you go, bon dia, good morning, boa tarde, good afternoon, and diagale, how are you? And just smiling. It's things like that. You get used to making that your norm, which for most people, if you're a friendly, warm person, you'll do that anywhere, in any language, in any location. But when you're an expat living in a foreign culture, and you're clearly different, and you're clearly seen as a foreigner, and sometimes, of course, the local people have their own preconceptions about what you're like. Well, they do. Of course they do. and they build their own stereotypes about you. And some of those will be positive, and some will be negative, and some will be what they consider to be advantageous, like they might see you as a walking ATM machine. But if you engage with them, this is what I believe, if you engage with people in a genuine manner with their culture, meaning and that's the native culture of that place you're in, and if you can say something as simple as hello, how are you, and smile, it's amazing what you can do to deflect negative energy, reduce risk, and open the potential for positive interaction, even if it's just fleeting, like saying hello to somebody and giving them a smile and then moving on, or walking, continue going, or whatever. It doesn't have to be like everything doesn't have to be a deep and meaningful, but yeah, it's my view anyway about that. I also think that the frustrations and challenges of being an expat, and that's for me here in Timor or anyone living anywhere. I think there's something I want to talk about that's pretty full on. Is what I've called the wall. Is like it's easy to, if you stay somewhere too long and you endure too many challenges and hardships, frustrations, things that just piss you off, you kind of can build up this resentment that turns into a deep cynicism about where you are. And I've seen it. I've seen it in Thailand. I've seen it in Indonesia. I've seen it online. I've seen it here in Timor. I've seen it all over the place. I think I'm developing a pretty good sense for like an expat that's hit the wall. I call it the wall. The wall is that point of, what do you call it? The edge of tolerance. They've had enough, basically. They're over it. That's probably the easiest way to say it. They're over it. They're sick of it. They're resenting everything that happens after that because they've kind of endured too much and not responded to those challenges positively. So it's just built up this anger that's kind of gets to a point. And of course, I think a natural human, to give them some benefit of the doubt, it's a human response to explain the reasons to yourself for why this is happening, why it's like this, why things are not easy or enjoyable or pleasurable or working well here. And then often that cynicism manifests as a sort of the place is just, excuse my language, the place is fucked, the people are stupid, it is what it is, it's not going to change. This is the sort of attitude that can come out of an expat that's hit the wall. And if that expat hangs around long after they've hit that wall, and I've seen examples of that too, it's not pretty. It's not pretty. The person becomes sarcastic, resentful, spiteful, and all of that, whatever. I mean, all of that doesn't make me feel a lot of sympathy at all, to be honest. I mean, I try to understand it to some extent, or at least give them some leeway as far as why they might be this way or feel this way or react this way. But ultimately, I'm like, you don't have to be here. Like, if you hate it that bad, if you are that cynical about the place, the people, the culture, the system, whatever, the government, then go home, man. Like, that's why it's time to go home, or go somewhere else where you're probably going to complain anyway. But just reset, push reset, reboot, go get out of there, And anyway, luckily that's not the majority of expats or anything like that. But every expat community this is the only one I've lived in and been part of, but I've engaged with other expat people in communities in other countries, and every community I've been in or observed or met of expats in these developing countries has people like that. It also has lovely people who are helpful, and don't get me wrong, I don't want to only focus on these people, but there's a range of people. But the reason I'm talking about this and getting it off my chest is actually because I'm also aware that this can happen to anyone, myself included. I'm striving to understand it and at least put some thought to it to avoid it. I mean, I don't, please, my friends, close friends or colleagues, if I ever remotely get like that, cynical, sarcastic, negative, pessimistic, tell me. tell me to my face, it's time to go home, it's time to get out, it's time to do something, because you can't just be like that. Yeah, so I'm just aware that it can happen to the best of them. So I don't want to ever be like that. That's why I'm trying to, as much as I also experience those frustrations, those things that are tough, I try to put it all in perspective, like, okay, it was a learning experience, and even the things that I find they make you angry, like, oh, why are people doing this? Why are people behaving this way? Why are people not doing this or doing that? It's like, try to understand where they're coming from. And that's not always easy, I admit. Sometimes you're just like, but yeah, ultimately just keep moving on, try and stay positive, and stay expecting the best from people, or expecting positivity from people, because if you expect, you get what you expect, kind of thing. I mean, I know it's a bit cheesy and a bit corny, like maybe even a bit unrealistic sometimes, but yeah, I do believe that to an extent too. You get what you expect, and if you expect bad, you'll get it. If you expect good, you'll get it, and there'll be some exceptions. It's like a bell curve or whatever. But anyway, I've got a whole lot of more things I can elaborate on. I had no plan for this video. I haven't made notes. I kind of started to, and then I got all sort of paranoid that I was just trying to make some sort of speech out of it, and then I just thought, no, I'll just talk. And I can't even remember what I've been rambling, so I don't even know what I was saying at the start of the video. So I run the risk now of repeating myself because I forgot what I've said. But I'm here now in my second year in Timor, partly by choice, partly by COVID travel restriction stuff. New Zealand has been really hard to get back into for a while, because New Zealand is taking a very closed approach and a very, very cautious approach to the whole COVID thing. It's easing and things are getting better, so I have faith that I'll have an opportunity to get home, at least to visit soon. Soon meaning in the next few months, or hopefully. And then, yeah, so there's half that I'd like to stay and keep learning, doing what I'm doing, experiencing what I'm experiencing, and also professionally, growing my experience of being an international school teacher. But also because going home was actually not easy to do. So I thought, well, if I'm going to be kind of stuck here, I'll grab that by the horns, or embrace that and just keep going. So I have goals. We also started an English club here at home. We have local kids come and learn English from us once a week, and like, they love it and we love it. It's really rewarding. They're just local kids of local families. They're not wealthy. They're going to public schools if they go to school. We suspect some of them don't hardly ever, if ever, go to school at all. But they're great to us, and also it's given us a really nice vibe on the street. The kids around here know us and say hello in English and practice their English with us. And we're Malays, but we're not those alien, weird, different people to them anymore. They know us and we know them to a certain extent. So that's cool. Yeah. Hey, listen, before I sign out this video, if you've watched this video and you've got this far, if you found it remotely interesting, and you have some questions, comments, feedback, maybe there's some things you'd like me to talk about, maybe there's some things you don't agree with me, if you either are interested or an expat yourself, either a Timorese, you might be Timorese, or you might be from anywhere. If you'd like to drop comments in that, please do, because I'd like to actually, respond and share what I know, and which is growing. And like I said in the beginning, I'm pretty sure I said, none of it's all my perspective, my opinion. It's not intended to refute anyone else's or suggest that it's a fact. It's just how I see it. So anyway, that's me. Yeah, obrigado, Barak. Till next time.